I'm Sandra Cheeseman. I'm a lecturer from the Institute of Early Childhood at Macquarie University in Sydney. For many years I've had an interest in the role of pedagogical leaders and educational leaders and the difference that they make to the experiences of children in early childhood settings. I was really excited to see the requirement for an educational leader in the regulations and the National Quality Standard. And I guess it's opened up lots of possibilities and conversations for what this really means, especially that it's a part of a regulatory requirement. We know from research that where there's strong leadership with a focus and a vision on pedagogy and curriculum, that the outcomes for children are much stronger and that children gain more from the experiences in an early childhood setting where there's a strong vision and a focus on curriculum. So I'm joined today by two educational leaders. Kelly Gleeson is the teacher at Cavendish Street Early Learning Centre, which is one of the early childhood centres operated by Marrickville Council in Sydney's inner west. And Beth Smith is the Senior Coordinator at Integricare Family Daycare in Sydney's southeast in the St George area. So welcome and thanks for joining me today.
Thank you. Thanks.
Can we start by perhaps with Kelly, you telling us a little bit about the context of Cavendish Street and your role as educational leader there?
Okay, basically Cavendish Street Early Learning Centre is a 40-place multi-age grouped centre. We're situated in the Sydney's inner west suburb of Stanmore. We're multi-age grouped, which means we don't have age grouped rooms or focus groups of children. So basically all staff work across all age groups across the centre. We're actually a historical house. We're a 2-storey old home, which works nicely with our multi-age grouped setting and the way that the staff and the children organically move across the setting. We're also quite a diverse mix, particularly the staff. The staff are of quite a range of diverse backgrounds, as well as the children.
Thanks, Kelly. And Beth, can you tell us about Family Daycare?
Integricare Family Daycare St George is based in Rockdale, but we actually run across the Rockdale and Cogra local government areas. So we have a huge culturally and financially diverse situation with both of our educators and our families. 90% of our educators come from English as a second language, and many of them have been with us for over 20 years. We also have educators that have been with us for 3 months. So we offer a huge, broad spectrum of care that's very personalised to the families. We cater for around 115 families a week, children a week, with 25 educators. We have 4 part-time coordinators that support and help those educators and the families.
Mm-hmm. So when your early childhood settings found out that there was to be this role of an educational leader within the regulations and the National Quality Standard, what was the reaction and what did people feel about that?
Well, for us, we had already had a role of program mentor at the centre for a couple of years, not quite so formalised, but it was an organic kind of a situation where I was given the role of the curriculum leader, I guess, or program mentor at the centre. I would actually attend curriculum group meetings once a month. And in that process, I guess we brought in information from each service. I'm one of 6 long daycare centres run by the council, 1 preschool. So there was a representative from each of the services there at those meetings. We'd bring ideas together and then share those ideas and then take information back to the settings. And council has always had a strong commitment to curriculum, and it was enacted through having that group and releasing staff to go to those meetings. I found it really valuable in terms of sharing information outside of your service, where you can often feel very isolated. It was also a great opportunity to talk about new research, share interesting readings, new texts and those sorts of things. And also we had the opportunity to review our policies with a strong curriculum focus. Last year we made a couple of minor adjustments to our philosophy based around the EYLF, the new language in the EYLF. And I guess we didn't find it a big change because it really did suit with our philosophy. And it was just a matter of implementing some of those new terms, such as educational leader educators and the like.
And that's what the research has really borne out, this importance of a strong vision and a philosophy that brings cohesion to a group of educators working together for best outcomes for children.
And I guess the idea of educational leader came out of that, really. We naturally became mentor to the teams in terms of curriculum at education. However, there was always that negotiation with the director. So now that we have implemented this official role of educational leader, it is technically the role of my director being the nominated supervisor. However, I naturally assume that role at the service for the staff.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that it's emerged from something that has been happening for quite some time, and that you've really adapted this role from something that emerged some time ago.
Definitely. It wasn't, as I said, it wasn't a new thing. So it's also led to a lovely work around our philosophy and the importance of educational leadership within the services. I think it's particularly strong in our centre, whereby, you know, we have a lovely organisation that supports curriculum, educational leadership. My relationship with the director is such that we always discuss curriculum issues and work out how we'll manage certain situations and bring new ideas into the service.
And I think that's going to be the case for many services, that they've got somebody that's been assuming that role for some time. What about you, Beth? How did your scheme respond?
It was definitely, as soon as they found out about the educational leader's role, it was, oh, Beth can do that.
And why was that, Beth?
And it was similar to Kelly in the sense that as an early childhood qualified, university qualified teacher, I was already unofficially assuming that role. I had a passion for the curriculum. I was really excited when the EYLF first came out. I'd just returned from maternity leave when the final draft came out. So I took on the role of examining it and presenting it to the staff and to the educators in a way that they could follow it, could understand it, and could get passionate about it. I was very excited about something that was a national curriculum, and so I'd already had that role unofficially. I was already the go-to person for program information and different trainings in terms of that. I always took on the role of training the educators in regards to any curriculum developments and things like that. So it was very natural.
And interestingly, in your scheme, the manager of the family daycare scheme has not taken on the role of educational leader. You've taken that role on. How was that decision made?
That was actually at an organisational level. IntegraCare is an organisation with 3 family daycare services, multiple long daycare services and preschools. And it was an organisational level that none of the services would accept the manager on that role, because they felt that someone actually on the floor, one of the teachers in the rooms, was sort of more hands-on. And I suppose that's sort of reflected in what Kelly's doing too, in the sense that even though officially her director had signed off on the role, it's Kelly that will be doing the day-to-day monitoring and supporting of her staff, which is the same with IntegraCare. IntegraCare's also been fantastic in that their long daycare services, they've actually budgeted for release times and things like that for the educational leaders past their regular programming time, to support that role and to take it very, very seriously.
That's great. So can you tell us a little bit about how you carry out this role of educational leader on a day-to-day basis?
You know, if you see baby doing something like, it's not art, but something like what we're talking about Emma.
Yeah,
She's playing with the rainbow scarves and the things, like,
yeah.
you know. So if you see something, can you just note it down for me, or can you just take a photo and just...
Use the camera.
Yeah, go to the activity.
Maybe
or
use the
anything.
jottings folder, might be a good way. She might be able to jot it in there, then it's all in one place.
Okay, yeah.
And then we can quickly access that folder. So for us, we've always, again, we've had spontaneous conversations around curriculum. And I guess that hasn't changed. That's always a part of the day-to-day workings at our centre. I'm a full-time teacher working with the children and the team of staff, and again, being a multi-age grouped, not being in room groups per se, I am having that opportunity to work across all of the staff. There are always time constraints, and obviously it's not always appropriate to be talking in front of the children, or when it's a busy times of the day and those sorts of things. So basically it's just been a matter of time of building up the relationships and trust with staff. And it's got to the point now that people do feel open enough to come and ask me a question or comment on some documentation or those sorts of things. So it does work in a spontaneous way, but we have some planned time where I actually mentor and coach staff members on their programming time. And I've found that absolutely invaluable, because without that it is quite inconsistent and, as you can imagine, hard to sort of follow through and have accountability about the role and how it will be maintained. So I'm really enjoying that.
So how do you manage to get that time?
So I do get the chance to sit with every staff member on their programming time across about a month's period, and that will be from our unqualified staff to our TAFE trains. So obviously all of those discussions are very different. I'm also very conscious that we have very limited programming times. It's a 2-hour slot, so I'm conscious that I don't want to take up somebody's whole programming time, and I'll often ask them how they'd like to work each mentoring session to suit. And it really depends on what level of support they would like. Often it's just a little bit of a catch up at the end to see where they're at, or having a look at the documentation that they've been working on. So one example is an unqualified staff member who does do observations of the children, and we're just working through some strategies at the moment to help her get through what is required. She does fantastic long observations, but I've sort of set her a challenge to look at some group observations where she can draw out implications for the individual child. So that's a bit of a focus at the moment. I've started now to go through and have a look at everyone's areas. So based on the children's interests that are in the staff room, I've started to put down everyone into an area, and everyone's picked the area that they're interested. Yep. So based on all of your buildings and machines that you've done, and Anne's interested in working with you with
great.
that.
And I'm really thankful to you. You always give me courage to do it. You are doing well, and
because you are.
Yes,
it's incredible that you've taken on such initiative and leadership with
all
this.
their development areas, and like as we mentioned in our framework and our ELF, so it's
I've got one challenge for you.
Is it?
Think about how you can include the family's perspectives.